Alright Chris, what we're here for today then?
To stop the Lib-Dems conspiring with Tories to privatise everything and plunge us into a double dip recession. What we're hoping to achieve is to send a message to them, the ones who are wavering already, to make sure that they understand that they've got no mandate for the cuts that they're delivering, and maybe cause a more apparent division that's already in there, but we're trying to subjugate it at the minute. So we're trying to get people to realise that they can't drive through the cuts without being held responsible, and that people are willing to stand up and fight against them. And that's why we're here. We're sending a clear message to them. They don't want us near, but they can hear us and they know we're here. And there are people passing, and maybe they can actually see the weight of feeling that's starting to build up. And this is only just the start of it yet. They've thrown a ring of steel around it. It isn't going to work. They need to listen and they need to act now. They've got a conscience, some of them, hopefully, and it might just make them realise that there's people out here who are not willing to stand by and let them drive through what is basically just a class division to put a bigger divide between the people who are rich and the working classes, and we're not having it.
We're here to protest against the Liberal Democrats for callously selling out and cowardly selling out their own election promises, joining in with the Tory coalition to cut the public services, attack public sector workers and generally destroy working class communities up and down this country. I think we need to break this government. I think we need to break it. We need to break it at its weakest link, and its weakest link's the Lib Dems. There's 2 Lib Dem councils gone over to Labour this week, Exeter and Blackburn and Darwin. I think we need to put pressure on this party to realise that if they carry on with this agenda, led by the Tories, it'll be electoral suicide for their own party. They need to understand that.
Why are you here today then, Jim, today?
I've just come for the weather. You know, a bit of sun worship, seeing the sights of Liverpool.
So, serious answers now.
If we don't fight back, we ain't going to have nothing left.
What I came for is just the general attitude of the government. They're claiming to want to make all these cutbacks so that our children won't be mortgaged in future, paying back the alleged cost of the public sector, as if it doesn't generate wealth within itself. But in fact, the PFI's, private finance initiatives, in which they've introduced to build all the new hospitals, will mortgage in the NHS for the next 30 years, and it won't be able to recover. The NHS is going to be closed by the back door, totally privatised, and we will no longer have a health service free at the point of need. I'm hoping that we will be able to divide the Liberal Democrats away from the Tories. We have to appeal to the conscience of individuals, and that's what we're doing.
Well, the reason why I was here today was to protest about the white paper on the NHS, which will mean the end of the National Health Service as a coordinated, integrated, taxation-funded, publicly provided and publicly accountable health service. That's going to be over. What it's going to be replaced by, if the white paper goes through, is a patchwork system of competing health providers, private as well as public, who are all scrabbling for a piece of the same pie, and the cost ultimately to the public is going to skyrocket as a result of this, and the quality is going to plummet. That is what it's all about. They're going in the direction of the American healthcare system, which none of the British public wants. A handful of people are going to make a pile out of this. The rest of the people are going to suffer. There is also a specific issue here in Liverpool, which is that they're using the private finance initiative to try to rebuild the Royal Liverpool Hospital. This is going to cost $1.24 billion in reality over 30 years, when the hospital is only worth $451 million, the new building. So they're throwing away a huge shitload of money just funding the private finance initiative. The profits are going to the banks and the private consortia, and we don't need this. It could be just torn up and replaced by public finance, and that would be cheaper. Now, before the kind of collapse of the banks, you know, if you roll the clock back 3-5 years, maybe this was an esoteric argument that only a few people would understand. I think the majority of the public knows very well that they've been taken for a ride by the banks. You even had the Bank of England coming to apologize to the TUC this week for how the how the finances of the country were screwed up with because they'd lost control of it. Well, why are we going to do it again? That's the question. Why should we do it again? Why, you know, you've done it once. Why do we want to have it again?
I'm Peter Riley. I'm actually a member of the Liberal Democrat Party. As an economist, I was an economics teacher. The economic policies are the economics of madness. During a recession, if the private sector are not employing resources, then the public sector should be employing resources and employing more resources. The government say that they've got a budget deficit, they can't afford to borrow money, but previously the banks were lending money and charging high rates of interest to keep the economy going. Why can't the government simply create the money? Because this money which they lend is created out of thin air. The government should actually create the money out of thin air without having to pay interest. But the other thing, of course, is the poor are subsidising the rich, because all this development in Liverpool, for example, was financed largely from the taxpayer. Where the taxpayer sows, the private landowners have benefited. It's pretty obvious that all this public money has created increased land values. So why should a few individuals benefit from it? I've been campaigning for land value tax now since I was 17, and that's in the early 60s. And the problem is we're up against a vested interest. The landowning interest, the financial interest and the legal interest have all got an interest in land prices going up and up and up. The landless people are subsidising the landowners through the regressive taxes they pay, and the young are subsidising the rich. As the rich sell their houses, obviously inflated prices, it's the young people that become wage slaves all their lives to pay off their mortgage.
Why have you come up from Birmingham today then to wet, windy and bleak Liverpool?
So that we could protest about the proposed cuts that are going to take place on the 20th of October, and in fact are already taking place under this coalition government of the Lib-Dems and the Conservatives. Nobody voted for this government.